Hey, welcome back to Evil's Comics. I am Evil Mike, and I got a review for you. This is going to be from Marvel Comics. This is Venom #1. It is written by Ewing and Ram V. Art is done by Bryan, Hitch, and Andrew Currie, and then we got color by Sinclair and letters by VC's Clayton, Cowles. This is spinning off of like Venom 200. At the end of the King in Black, Eddie Brock being, now a god. He is in control of all the known symbiotes. His son being the new Venom, Dylan. And we're picking up right after all that goodness. So the book starts out and it's pretty much following Venom in space. And not Venom, Eddie Brock specifically with his god symbiote suit. And he is traveling with like 4 other symbiotes. They are just patrolling the galaxy, trying to recover from the Null battle and trying to put the galaxy together again, kind of thing. He's also trying to stabilize that he's not a bad force in the universe, kind of like Null was. So the book starts out and they're receiving a distress call from like an alien ship that's being attacked by some pirates. It is Eddie Brock, and then he has 3 other symbiotes with him. They don't actually have any host inside them. They're just the symbiotes, and he brings them along because at this time, since he is a god, he can move just using a thought. He can move from any symbiote that he wants to, including Carnage, including any symbiote that he can reach through the void. So he does keep those 3 symbiotes around so he can move freely between different bodies when he needs to. He actually refers to them as the Beatles, calling them John, Ringo, and Paul. But as he goes through, it's basically like this situation where it's these it is some scrolls, and they have they're the pirates, and they have taken the ship and the cargo and have the crew, and they're getting ready to be slaves, kind of. And then Eddie Brock shows up. He he takes out all the scrolls and stuff, and as that happens, you kind of see in the background that one of the symbiotes, and he flips through all of them quite often, using them to seal airlocks or different stuff as he's moving around. But you do see that one of the, and I think it's John, is the one that turns, but all of a sudden you start to see him change, in the background, his eyes, and instead of having the white, kind of spidery symbiote looking eyes that they normally do, all of a sudden his just turned to, red beady eyes and stuff like that. It gets to the point where Eddie needs to check on the hostages. He has already taken out all the pirates, and he makes it to the hostage quarters where I think it's John that's supposed to be, or it could be Ringo. I can't remember the specific name that he picked for that guy. But anyways, he meets the guy with the red eyes, the symbiote, and when he gets in there, all the hostages are brutally murdered. And basically the red-eyed symbiote, he basically tells him that it's like a warning for the future, that basically that this is going to be the end of Eddie Brock. He's not going to see it coming, but the throne is going to be empty soon, and forever empty, it says. And then basically this thing kind of Eddie is frozen during this. He doesn't understand why. But while this thing is talking to him, with the red eyes, he just freezes in place, and after he gives this future message, this thing kind of just disintegrates and turns into dust. And Eddie Brock is kind of left there trying to figure out what the heck. So he kind of gets the notion that whatever this is, or whoever this is, that it ties to Dylan, his son. And so the book flashes over to Dylan, and currently him being the new host of Venom. And they basically just set him up in school. He is having a rough time being an adolescent, coming into puberty, that kind of thing. But he is extremely violent. And the book starts out and he has been in numerous fist fights or something like that. And he ends up leaving school, and them stating that they need to talk to his dad, Eddie, and them trying to reach him for 2 weeks and not being able to reach him. And that's kind of where the school thing leaves off, and he leaves school, and you find out that he does have a protector that Eddie Brock left around, and we've seen him recently, but that is Sleeper, the symbiote that that was with Anti-Venom and Silence, and during the whole Extreme Carnage miniseries run. So Sleeper is protecting Dylan. He's basically like following him around, kind of like monitoring him. But as soon as he gets out of school and he's going home, Sleeper's right there. They start talking, and that's when Dylan starts discussing about how like he misses his dad and he wishes he was around. He does understand that he's a god, but he still wishes that he was around. He also hates that for some reason he's extremely violent and he doesn't understand why. Sleeper kind of back and forth asking questions and tries to give him a better sense of things, but the kid's in his teen angsty kind of thing. But eventually Dylan does make it home, and in the background you do see like a shadowy figure following him. But Dylan does make it home, stays home for a little bit thinking about his dad, and eventually Eddie Brock comes into this house and he's like, Dylan, you gotta get packed right now, we gotta go, something's going down. Eddie Brock leaves the room to go grab some stuff downstairs in this house, and Dylan does what his dad says and starts packing. Sleeper's kind of looking around the room for stuff for him so they can get packed and get out of the house. And while he's packing, he gets a phone call from Eddie Brock. And Eddie Brock tells him that the person in the house is not who he says he is not his dad, And he tells him to, continue packing, but to leave out the window and forget the dad look-alike, it's an enemy. So Dylan does what the phone tells him to, and he packs and he leaves out the window with Sleeper in tow. And he heads out and he gets these instructions to make it to a hotel where Eddie Brock supposedly is there waiting to meet him. And we do see they flip over to this hotel, and sure enough, Eddie Brock is there waiting for his son. He hasn't seen his son in a while, and he's really nervous, the whole God thing. He's got a lot going on. So he calls his son right before he gets there, and he's trying to tell him everything. And he's kind of flip-flopping around trying to discuss everything he knows, but it's kind of like in gaps and pieces because he doesn't know everything, but he does know something dangerous is coming. While he's waiting for his son, he does slip into he calls it the spire, but I know it as the void. I don't know if they're the same thing, but he says he does slip into the spire where he can basically move his thoughts to another type of plane of existence. And while he's there, he's trying, he does know that if he tries hard enough, or that he does have this ability where he can slip in and out of space and time. So he actually thinks of this notion, trying to get a grasp on this future event that guy was talking about, because the guy said he wouldn't know, he wouldn't see it coming, and Eddie Brock is really worried that he will just walk into the situation versus it coming to him kind of thing. So he does slip into the spiral thing, and when he slips there, he sees kind of 4 different future scenes, and one of them is this big red looking he does look like a symbiote, but way more massive, kind of like if Hulk was a symbiote, but he's called Bedlam, and he's just big and red. And then they show on the other side, they show this helicopter scene and explosions, and then at the very end they show this kind of form that looks like something like a symbiote but with antlers or something like that. You can't really make it out, but as soon as he comes out of that, and he kind of he can sense that Dylan is getting close. Sure enough, the bus pulls up and Dylan is getting off the bus. Eddie Brock comes out of the hotel room to greet his son, and sure enough, as soon as he does, that's when that helicopter scene that he saw from his future vision happens, and they explode. The helicopters, target and explode the hotel that Eddie Brock is staying at, in just a mass, crazy explosion. There is, back when the fake Eddie Brock came to see Dylan, he asked if Dylan had the Venom symbiote, and Dylan had specifically said that Venom wasn't around, that every now and then that he left on his own and he comes back when he needs to, kind of thing. But when the hotel does explode, we do see that the shadow figure that was following him was Venom all along, the symbiote, specific suit. And as soon as this happens, the Venom bonds with Dylan, and kind of like what Dylan's been saying all along, that that this kind of displaces the anger that he's been going through. And it's kind of with Venom now, in these people attacking his dad and him, he unleashes full Venom. And not only does he take out and it's several helicopters, and it looks like 50, 60 armed militant looking men, but he takes out all of them. And it's basically where where that part of the book ends with Dylan is him just, you know, taking out the whole mass fleet of the military group that are trying to kill him and his dad or capture or whatever it is. They jump back over to Eddie Brock, and you know, because the scene is set up that it looks like Eddie is dead, and of course, you know, it's a lot harder to kill the god of the symbiotes, but he has used that technique, that's, you know, where he has used thought to move his body to another symbiote, and for some reason he goes to a place that he's never been to, and it's supposed to be like the farthest place, like, and known everything, but it is called the Garden. And when he gets there, he is greeted by that antlered looking symbiote figure that we saw, and I think his name is Meredith. And he just basically greets Eddie, because Eddie is literally coming out of this pool of water, but it's not water, it just looks like symbiote goo. And that's kind of like why his, you know, that was the last available symbiote supposedly that he could link to. As he's coming out of the goo, that's when, you know, Meredith, I think that's his name, bad with names, guys, but that's when Meredith greets him, and you kind of see Meredith in his form, and he's just a very tall looking figure with these like kind of antler things that are coming off of him. He looks really badass, but he basically tells Eddie to, like, you know, slow down, that it's going to take a little bit to get his bearings, because he emerged from like the symbiote goo versus just a symbiote. And like you know, he's welcoming to the Garden, and that's where this issue leaves off. There is like editor's notes talking about, you know, like things to come, and what they have planned for the series, and the writers and everything that's behind it, talking about how Ewing and his run on Immortal Hulk, and you know, that they got Ram V and other people, you know, attached to this series. So it sounds like they have very good plans for the series, that they, you know, that they're going to take good care of it, especially with the writers and artists that are attached to it. All right, so with the story review being done, the book was amazing. I'm not going to say it was one of my best reads, but it was really good, especially since I haven't read a lot of Venom lately, and like, I mean, the only thing I really read lately was the King in Black series. So, but because I did not read the Venom Bane series, I read the ending of it, but that was about it. But coming out of that, not knowing a lot, they did a really good job of kind of catching you up with things that have been going on, so you're not left in the dark. But the story progression was really good. It's really quick. It reads like a roller coaster, and then on top of that, like, the art was really, really great. I mean, as soon as it gets to the like, anytime they showcase the symbiotes, it's so beautiful looking. It's really done well. But hey, that's my review. I'll show you a little bit of the art, and I'll let you go on your way. I have more reviews coming. I have about 10 more books that I need to read. Let me show you some of those goodness. And I'll just basically show you some random scenes. But there's Eddie in space in his god costume mode. I don't know what they call it, the god symbiote. I'll flip to the back. This is the red-eyed guy that he ends up seeing that kills the whole crew. Some scenes of Dylan, you know, packing with Sleeper in the scene. There's Sleeper down here. He is in a cat form in this comic, trying to stay hidden. I can show you Bedlam real quick. That is Bedlam, that big red looking. And those are the 4 future events. They do show Kang, and one other thing that Kang mentions is him and Eddie Brock are best friends, which at this time of the comic Eddie does not know about. But this is when Venom mixes with Dylan. There you go, Venom and Dylan mixed back together like they should be. Alright guys, but that's my review. That's all I'm going to show you, and I will see y'all guys later. Bye!